Hey, I'm Mindy Kinnis. This is The Daily Rage. I wanted to give you a quick tip today on trading multiple accounts on Apex Trader Funding. I'm going to show you a screenshot to demonstrate what I'm talking about. So back in, this would have been February 14th, Valentine's Day of this year, this was a screenshot of my daily P&L. And the way that I was calculating it back then is I was looking at all the accounts that I traded. So on this day, it would have been 4,330. Now, that made me feel pretty awesome because by no means was I trading a single account around $4,000 a day. At that time, my daily goal was 1,000, so you can see a few of these accounts got relatively close on that day, but I was taking them all into account and saying, oh, I made over $4,000 today. How amazing is that? So started feeling myself a little bit, started, maybe getting a little bit overconfident because I did that day after day after day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going so well. Now, here's the other side of that equation. This day was February 28th of this year, so just 2 weeks after that. And I was calculating my total loss that day, including all of the accounts. So all of that put together would be $2,189 of loss. Well, let me tell you, that made me feel like crap because I'm like, oh my gosh, I lost over $2,000 today. Like that's a crazy amount, for me at least, to lose. And that's so terrible. So then I got totally down on myself. It totally went the opposite direction. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst trader ever. This is terrible. Like, what am I going to do? This is awful. But the reality is, at that time, like I said, my daily goal was 1,000. So roughly, some of these hit that. And my max loss on a day was 300. So truly, it wasn't that far off. Some of these had a little bit of slippage and were a teensy bit over that $300 mark. But really, I was wanting to make 1,000. I was willing to risk 300. So that's not terrible. But it felt terrible when I was adding them all up and using that as my total win or my total loss for the day. Now, some of you might not be impacted by things like this. You might be able to keep it a little more even keel than I was able to. But what I ended up doing was completely stopping adding them all up. So now what I do is I take one account, which I use as my educational account. This is the account that I trade with my students live. And I just use that as kind of my anchor account. And my daily win or loss is based on that single account. Now, some of the other ones may be a little higher or lower than that, depending on if I'm using a trade copier and trading them together. Even when I do that, there may be a little bit of slippage, or sometimes I'll trade them completely independently. But by doing it that way, I'm able to keep a more steady emotional state around how I'm doing because I'm like, okay, this is my daily goal. This is my daily max loss. Just focus on that one account. The rest of them will take care of themselves if I'm roughly kind of trading them similarly. So instead of making myself a complete crazy person by adding all this stuff up, I simply focus on one and I say this was my P&L for the day. Win or loss, that's it. I'm Mindy Kinnis. Thanks so much for watching.